I don't know how the case is in Kenya, but obviously the case is in Zambia is that public participation in terms of representation through civil society is politicized. You have this civil society. If you talk of representation of civil society, they will say they represent the population, the majority, but they might have political inclination towards either the ruling party or the opposition. So you'll find that people sometimes shy away from expressing themselves through those organizations for being linked to those institutions. In the end, the objectivity of the people is failed. They might be championing, if I'm a private citizen, like you are saying, I need to express myself through civil society, a grouping. And if I see that their agenda it might be led only in one way, they're not listening so much to what the majority of the population want to express. So that shrouds the well-meaning people try to shy away from those gatherings. In the world, the democracy is, the intention is good, but the challenges we have is we have laws which provide for better representation, but application has been the major challenge. So even in the budgeting cycle process, the issues you mentioned in terms of an individual coming out, sometimes there's an impossibility of properly being expressed, represented in there. You find yourself being maligned. So those are the challenges we have. And I don't know what the case is in Kenya. And I know that these issues are not just peculiar to ourselves. In the US, with Trump being on you've seen that those things also happen at that higher level. So those are some of the challenges, but I don't know what the experience is in Kenya, but that's real for us. If you talk of if I come to the equalization fund, from the intention, which I think is similar to Kenya as well, and going by what you are saying, the definition, the intention is to try and have those underdeveloped places where maybe even the geographical area, the source of income, the city is not as good as other places. So it's meant as a way of mitigating those places to reach a level where they can also benefit to a certain level where development can be sent to the people. Obviously, there will be certain people in those localities who are well off than others, but the intention is geographically you want to develop the area. Thank you.
So, sorry, was it a question or a comment?
I was mentioning the challenges we have in Zambia. I was saying it was a comment, but I was soliciting for how the situation is in Kenya.
We can have two more so that he can respond. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for that presentation. And I want to ask a question on the mode of operation as far as public participation is concerned. I work in the counties, and when we are taking this public participation, we find as if there are some gaps which exist. And now you being experts in this field, I do believe that you may be having some solution on how this can be done. And particularly now, this is as far as project identification in the rural areas are concerned. Number one, when we prepare the county integrated development plan, we go to the members of the public and we ask them to give us a list of the projects that they want the government in power to implement within the implementation period. That is number one. Number two, Having now concluded on the CIDP, which is a 5-year document, we download the CIDP now into annual plans, which we call the annual development plan. We download the projects for 1 year, which we now go on implementing until the 5-year period is gone. Again, when we do the annual development plan, the law requires, again, we go back to the members of the public with the same questions. We go to the members of the public again and we ask them, what do you want done? And remember, we had asked them when we were doing the CIDP. Again, the law requires, after the ADP, we do what we call the CFSP, the County Fiscal Strategy paper. It also requires public participation. Again, we go back to the same people whom we had visited during the ADP and also during the CIDP. We go back to them and we ask them, what do you want us to do? Finally, when we are doing now the annual estimates, again, the law requires, again, we still go back to the same people. So you see, we visit the members of the public 4 times when do the annual estimates, when do the county fiscal strategy paper, when do the annual development plan, when doing the CIDP. Now, when we go to the members of the public, they keep on telling us, see, you are here the other day, what else do you want? Can you kindly try to clear the air on the best way of doing it in the counties? Thank you.
Thank you. Mine is not very far from what he has just commented about. So my question is, could this public participation thing be overrated? Because, for example, if, for example, when we have political competition, people compete based on their manifestos. So you present a manifesto to your electorate, and the electorate will decide which manifesto appeals to them. That tells you they choose candidate A over B. That tells you they have agreed with the proposals of candidate A. So already your work is cut out. So after the elections, now you are supposed to go back to the same electorate and ask them, what do you want done? Yet you had presented to them an action plan, and they actually agreed with you that this is what we think should be done. So could this public participation thing also be used to drag people backwards? Because if we agreed with you, this is the road we want to go down, and we agreed you are a visionary leader, this is what we want. At what point do you turn back and ask the same electorate, what do you want done? Maybe we should talk about the how, so that the technocrats come in. If you tell people you will provide water for them, the how is a question to be answered by the technocrats. But the what question should be settled when you are electing your leaders, so that we don't keep doing public participation from the campaigns to the implementation. All through we are still doing public participation. At what point should public participation be put to hold, so that implementation, maybe they can participate now during the implementation, a different sort of public participation, but not the question of what all through. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think, Daktari, you can react to those.
Thank you. And okay, thank you for the questions. And I also believe none of us is a custodian of knowledge. None of us knows everything. So I will make my comments, but I will also want to hear your thoughts on the same. The first question relates to what is happening with our brothers in Zambia. Public participation is largely politicized, and he has come to Kenya to benchmark. He wants to benchmark with Kenya practice. So Kenyans, where are you? I think if I may comment on what I observe from a distance, especially around elections, when a leader of a civil society opens his or her mouth you can tell which political orientation they belong to, true or false. Well, those people from civil society, you may not want to admit that, but there is, of course, the perception. In communication, those of us who have studied communication, we say that the meaning of the message is with the receiver. The meaning of the message is with who? The receiver. It is not with the sender. So when you speak as a civil society, we infer certain meanings from what you say. So I think from my observation, I really don't think our situation is so much different from what is happening in Zambia. However, I would say as far as our country is concerned, I think, but we may also want to refer to those studies that show us how open a given society is. Perhaps we would be ranked above Zambia. I'm not sure. I would want to check that report that maybe shows. Where I come from, we don't make statements without evidence. So I would want to look at that report or research or studies that show how open different countries are. Then we may want to ask ourselves, are we more open than Zambia? And does that level of openness explain, for instance, why the practice is different in Zambia than it is in Kenya? However, maybe what may differ is the extent to which ours are also politicized, and controls that exist to deal with that, maybe from the members of the public and from the law. But I may want to hear from one of or two of us, but maybe let me respond to the other two issues again. So maybe the question was maybe, so how could we be able to maybe do that, public participation, if that is the case? You know, there are also professional associations maybe that may want to approach things. In Kenya, we have a number of them. Law Society of Kenya. I don't want to comment as to whether Law Society of Kenya itself is politicized or not. ISPAC, members of ISPAC, the Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Kenya. Perhaps individual citizens that belong to those associations, professional associations, may find maybe professional associations being not as politicized as civil societies. That's my thinking. There was the case of project identification at the counties, but actually the second question I think was touching also on the quantity of, the way I put it, on the quantity of public participation. Are we so much after public participation that we forget the substance and concentrate so much on the what? On public participation for the sake of it? When I studied law somewhere, not as a lawyer, I was told that law is an ass. Law is a what? Well, those of us who have studied law somewhere, if it is law, it is law. I mean, you don't really have to explain it. If the law says there must be public participation, even if you don't like it. And in Kenya, we have many cases, by the way, where acts of parliament have been dismissed by the courts as null, as unconstitutional for reasons that they did not engage the public in public participation. Perhaps maybe the question we may want to ask, and even at the counties, by the way, some acts of parliament were also dismissed, not acts of parliament, acts, what do you call these acts passed at the counties? Laws passed at the county level were also dismissed for reasons that there was no participation at the time that law was being passed. So what does that tell you? If the law says there should be public participation, you cannot now come back and say, oh, we did that CIDP, County Integrated Development Plan. That was made before the law was passed. So you cannot say that now the act is it going to be passed retrospectively or what is going to happen? So if the law says, and in our case it's even more serious because it's a constitution. So you can't declare constitution unconstitutional. So the issue then arises, how do we deal with the quantity of public participation, that in every case there must be public participation? These are discussions that still continue, and in fact, one question that has been asked is about the framework for public participation. For instance, if we have County A, they call us for public participation. County B also calls us in a different hall for public participation. How can we be able to gauge that there was public participation, or maybe the quality of public participation in County A and the quality of public participation in County B? That is being asked, and I think some of us, especially in Kenya, are aware that there has been attempts to develop the framework. There has been attempts to develop the framework for public participation, even from the Office of the Attorney General. And even I think there is a pending bill, I don't know whether it has been passed or what, with the Senate, again developing the framework for public participation. So that if we call people for public participation, by the time the event is over, we can say that public participation event has passed certain parameters for public participation. Otherwise, then we bring people in a hall like this, and they take tea, snacks, and so on, then we say they participated. So, sir, with regard to, it was the county, my friend there, he didn't mention his name. Yeah? Yeah, I can understand the frustration. Unfortunately, that's the law. CIDP, you can put it there, but when it comes to passing the law, public participation, maybe we may need to factor it in BBI. So, but let me, moderator, yeah.
Sorry. Thank you very much. Let's appreciate Daktari once again. Now, according to the program, we are supposed to be having a case study, and our presenter is here, Mr. Simon Angote. So, sir, we kindly invite you to the podium. Let's appreciate him as he comes to the podium. Thank you, Daktari. You need to sanitize. Karibu.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The debate about public participation, I'm telling the presenter that in Kenya for counties, we have the Ministry of Devolution. It has guidelines developed for public participation and civic engagement. There's a curriculum developed. But we had an experience in the old constitution, what we used to have LATIF, that projects were supposed to be implemented through a popular process. But what people who are in charge of those programs used to do was to get a few friends, sit them somewhere, they sign signatures and say they have had a meeting, and because you didn't have to produce evidence that there was public participation. The signature was the evidence. Today, is some debate we have even now. When we invite people to come to a county budget making process, and the people we're inviting have never been schooled on public finance, and they do not have knowledge of public finance. But you have numbers. Like in Kenya, there are counties, if you go, you'll have very large numbers. If you have a public participation forum in Turkana, and you ask the civil society to mobilize, they'll get you 1,000 people. You can get the same also with Isiolo. But if you go to Kakamega and Siaya, for people to come to meetings, you must promise them. When they have come to your meeting, what are you going to give them? If there's no promise of something for them to take home, they will not come. But even when they come, like what Daktari is saying, what quality of input do you get from them? It's based on knowledge. But I've also whispered to him that because of the need to fulfill the requirements in the law, politicians have the capacity to mobilize their henchmen to give the numbers, and they therefore give the impression that we have public participation. This morning, the Senate of the Republic of Kenya, the Committee on Constitutional Affairs is beginning the process of public participation again to make an input into PBI. Who will they be targeting? How have they identified those they have targeted? Because if they know my views can be very strong and can sway an audience, I am unlikely to be invited to a forum when they want to have, so we have a lot of debates. Dr. We shall also invite you. This school is publishing a book. And one of the book chapters is on public participation. I am the team leader. So you'll be a very good, I'll be your client also. Now, we are coming to, young man, where are you? We have been debating on how do we handle the session on our program on case study. And Andrew Rory and myself have settled on this, that we have audiences here. Where are our brothers from Ethiopia? Ethiopia. They are gone. They are out. Yeah, but they do the assignment because the Ethiopian experience is different from South Sudan, is different from Zambia, is different from Uganda. And because of the numbers from Kenya, in Kenya we're going to be in these clusters. You have a cluster of county government delegates. You have a cluster of the parliamentary service. There's parliamentary. There's a big group. There is a group of other commissions. That will be another cluster. Then you have national government ministries. The young man, you're going to help to organize because we have to look at the COVID numbers. When you are in a workshop like this, at times social media helps us, but it doesn't give. The numbers are on the upside again, and we do not want those who come from outside to attribute whatever tribulations they may have to they are coming to Kenya or ourselves coming to Mombasa. Yesterday I was sneezing very badly here. When I left and went to town, I went to a restaurant, and when I sneezed just once, the people who are in the vicinity took off. Rebecca, I went to Blue Room. I went to Blue Room yesterday evening, and I had a running nose. I was sneezing. People took off, and I had gone there to take this concoction. We're getting ginger and everything, putting it together. Then there's a nurse who walked to me and told me, there is something I can give you, and by morning you'll not be sneezing, you'll not be coughing. And it's true. I woke up this morning feeling fresh. So the questions we have are this, that many African countries embarked on public finance management reforms aimed at making public financial management more efficient, effective, participatory, and transparent. Our discussion is, based on what we have had here, the training and your experience, you don't need to be an expert in these things. And we have had that debate from here, that we cannot interrogate. Like those who come from counties, the governors said this thing called IFMIS is meant to frustrate us as governors so that we don't implement our programs. Those are views, because we said we digitize. But the experience is that the people managing those systems can frustrate us. So based on this training and your experience, share with us in your groups, what do you see as best practices in public finance management, processes that we have gone through? Secondly, what in your opinion are the challenges in the achievement of public finance management reforms in your country? There are challenges. And finally, highlight on the interventions to address the challenges and to sustain the gains from the reforms. Dr. Scott's group here, what they do at the end of this, they will have a communique. There's a report. In the report they do, they have their governing council, yes, but they also are an organ of the African Union. And therefore you submit reports of what people's feelings are. And we think that process would be picked up by those that are powers that are. So ladies and gentlemen, between now and long time, how many minutes are those? 30? Oh, in around 30 minutes. And I don't know how to manage because of big groups. Our friends from Uganda, where are you? I must ensure your peace, I told you. Because I discovered two of you are my cousins. We speak the same language. They are in Uganda and I am in Kenya. But when I tell them Ogamba Chi, Sebu, in Borogoma, you will sit under one of the sheds. I'll be ensuring that you are safe. Zambia. You are remaining alone. The others are gone. But you also take one of the sheds and assume that you are in a big hall like the Mulungushi Conference Center in Lusaka, or near the falls, Livingstone, Omosho Tunya. Zambia will be also out. The people of the Great Republic of South Sudan, you also take a shed. I know you don't come from the Ministry of Civil Society, but you have the appreciation of public finance. Then you have the county governments from the Republic of Kenya. County governments, you take this corner here. You know, I'm supposed to be a major client of yours. We have a Center for Devolution Studies. We are supposed to be doing publications on experiences of counties in the last 10 years before the next elections. And working with the COG to look at your knowledge hub on what have been the best practices and what is that we have learned from what has happened and how do we move forward. Parliamentary service, bunge la kitaifa la Kenya. Nyinyi mtachukua kona hiyo hapo nyuma. Na commission zingine, other commissions from the Republic. I thought you were a number of you. So you joined Parliament. If you are few, join Parliament. The UNESCO Commission, the National Cohesion and Integration Commission in Kenya work together with Parliament. The national, and you have, where they are here, this corner. No, this corner doesn't have anybody. Use this space. And Clifford, you will work with so the commissions will be here. The national government ministry delegates will be where Juliana Yapan is. Juliana, should raise up your hand. Those who come from the national government ministries, you will join Juliana, who stays in Teleposta Towers in Nairobi. She works with the Ministry of ICT and Innovation. Ladies and gentlemen, we have 30 minutes. Which one is this? Public agencies will join the national government if you're not a commission.